So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with
Thank you.
local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Anna Ferguson, who's managing director at Blake Clough Consulting. So, Anna, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Blake Clough, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, hi, I'm Anna Ferguson. I'm one of two managing directors of Blake Clough Consulting. I'm based in a village called Slathwaite or Slowett, just outside Huddersfield, which is where we have one of our offices. And yeah, Blake Clough, we set ourselves up in September 2021. So we've been going for just over 4 years now.
Yep.
There were three of us at the time. We've grown to, I think, for around 64 now, but I've started to lose count. Um, we've got offices in Glasgow, Slough, and London, and we also have a Pakistani physical office as well, and a few other people internationally. So yeah, it's gone really, really well. Everything we do is around electrical networks and power networks.
Wow. Amazing. We're going to get into it more detail. I mean, just give us an idea, Anna, of the sort of what makes a great client for you. What are the sort of people you work with and work for?
So we work for network operators, we work for developers looking to connect projects to the grid, so renewable
Yes.
energy projects like solar and storage,
Yeah.
increasingly data centers and batteries as well.
Yes.
And we will also work for the supply chain. So it might be what's called an independent connection provider that will be building the connection, and then we'll subcontract into them for power system studies and design. So really, any client that's looking for power system studies, grid consulting, um, network innovation, yeah, we're happy to work with all of them.
Brilliant. And I mean, and that's quite meteor. I would describe it meteoric growth rate of three people to 64 in four and a half years.
4 years and a month. Yeah, we have grown really, really quickly. The market's obviously it's been a very good time to
Yep.
establish the business. It's a big growth market, so renewable energy is growing, but also there's lots and lots of work that needs to be done on the networks. So to accommodate the renewables, there's lots of grid upgrades going on as well.
Yeah.
And power systems and this kind of work and the grid consulting work we do, it's really niche.
Yeah.
So I've worked in quite a few of the major consultancies over the
Yeah.
last 15 years. So I know exactly what everybody else is doing and how it should be done properly and the best things to take out of it. So I think we've grown quickly because we've actually established an amazing team, like very, very clever. We've got lots of people from great universities, like first from Imperial, and done PhDs and researchers, and the good Scottish universities as well.
Yeah.
So we've grown a really clever team, and it means that we can provide services to clients quickly at high quality, good cost base. We're really flexible, but I think we're also really friendly. So clients like to work with us.
Brilliant. Brilliant. What a great mix. And we'll probably touch a bit later on, but you said you hit a really great point in time. So, and for one of the questions I guess I would have is how much was this hitting this sweet spot strategic? How much was luck? Was it a bit of both? Um,
It was a bit of both.
Cool.
I think I got to the point in my career, so I was at one of the big consultancies beforehand, the big
Yep.
infrastructure consultancies, and I was leading the power systems team, so I was power systems director there.
Yep.
And I thought that either can progress upwards, which is basically managing a bigger team and going further outside of power systems, really. And I might have had to relocate as well, which didn't seem ideal. But at that point, I knew exactly how to do all of this stuff. I knew how to manage the team and the business, knew how to do the BD, manage the staff, deliver the projects as well. So I was still delivering projects myself. And I thought, this is just a great time to try and do it for myself.
Brilliant.
I'd quite fancy doing a bit more project work as well. So in the early years of the business, I've done lots and lots of project work, like personally.
Yep.
But I wanted to have a go at doing it without, always having to ask your boss whether you can do something or whatever. Having the
Yep.
freedom to kind of do it as I wanted to do it. But the timing also coincided, luckily, with all of this growth. So I think, I mean, when I was studying at university, which was a long time ago now, but power was just not an exciting thing. And I did
Yeah.
telecoms actually, and I've swapped to power later. But
Yeah.
now power is the big thing just because of
Yeah.
all the upgrades and so on. So yeah,
Yes.
it's a lucky timing, definitely.
Yeah, brilliant. And I guess a lot of the successful sporting teams, etc. They say the harder we work, the luckier we get as well. So
Yeah. I've worked very hard over the
yeah,
years.
I'm absolutely sure you have. So in terms of is this the sort of career you foresaw for yourself as a child, or did you have other plans at that point?
I think I was quite an unimaginative child. My dad was an electrical engineer. I worked for CGB, doing power station planning.
Brilliant.
My grandpa had also been an electrical engineer working for AEI. I liked maths and physics at school, and I kind of thought of other options, and I didn't really fancy anything particularly. So I ended up studying engineering at Cambridge, which was actually general engineering for 2 years.
Yeah,
And then I did, I think, like I said, I did more focused on telecoms. But when I was growing up, I think I always fancied being a CEO. I don't know why. Maybe I just wanted to be a boss. Uh,
brilliant, brilliant.
but I mean, subsequently, after I'd done my degree, I did various things. I worked in the city for a while. I worked for Goldman Sachs for a bit. I was a
Yep,
management consultant. And then I decided to move from London and I moved up to the Northeast actually. And I thought, I can't do management consultancy in the North, so I better find something else to do. So I did a bit of IT consulting and a bit of recruitment consultancy. And then I saw the renewable energy kind of happening. So I decided I was going to retrain back in engineering. And I did a master's in electrical power engineering from Bath University whilst I was working. So I did it kind of
amazing.
fully in my own time at weekends and stuff.
Yeah,
And then I got a job back, but basically back as a graduate engineer for what was called NAREC at the time, and is now the Offshore Renewable Energy Catapult. And I basically worked my way up from there through various consultancies. And funnily enough, my background, having done other things, management consultancy and investment banking stuff, it actually really helped.
yes,
But it's also really helped for running the business because all of these skills that you need, like, IT, recruitment, marketing, I've done a little bit of
yep,
through my whole career.
yep,
So I've
brilliant.
kind of always felt that those skills might come together, and I kind of think they have.
Brilliant. I remember our founder talking about the fact that he did exactly that. He said, "Well, I want to be a CEO. I want to run businesses, but why don't I learn by being an employee of the right thing?" So he was a marketing executive. He was a salesperson. He's trained as an accountant, and it just learned the skills with
That's interesting.
in other
Yeah.
businesses. It's because
Yeah.
it just sort of made sense to him to sort of in effect get paid to learn the skills he needed to learn and
Yeah.
understand the 360 of what's involved in business because it is quite a complex beast ultimately.
Well, mine was less of a plan. Mine was just more of a lucky coincidence. So I thought I'd try a few different careers. And then ultimately I thought,
Brilliant,
actually, I quite like engineering, but I'll use all these skills,
brilliant.
in the business.
Now we sort of touched on it before we started the interview, but growth always sounds great, but growth comes with its own challenges. But whether it's from the growth or other areas, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to come as you overcome as you've grown, Anna?
So I think there's the obvious thing around processes and systems.
Yep,
So, we started off, we used the basic financial package, and we used also that for project management. Then we got to a certain size, about 20 people, I suppose, and we thought, right, we definitely need a better project management package. So
yep,
we ended up having something developed for us. And actually, that's been brilliant because it's really, really flexible, and we've been able to have it developed as we run the business. So it means that we can do short projects very profitably and very quickly.
oh, brilliant.
But that wasn't easy. And then there's the other kind of cultural thing that when there's 20 people, you can speak to them every day just about, but when there's 62, you really can't. And so that you need
Yes,
to get this culture right of having your line managers and team leaders, talking to people regularly, making sure they're looking at people's training and people are happy. But we've got a really good culture of kind of just being communicative. So
great.
people kind of message me all the time on Teams. We've got like loads of different Teams channels for different things, technical and
Yep,
non-technical, and everyone's really collaborative. So I think we've done things really, really well as we've grown and, better than the competition just by probably the type of people that we've recruited and also just the kind of culture that we've embedded. But I mean, I have had sleepless nights when, we've sort of taken on quite a few people quite quickly and then thought, oh my goodness, we've got to find work for all these people. Thought, right, I need to do loads of BD now. And then, you get too much work and then you need more people. And so it all goes on in consultancy.
It's yeah, we call it creating the vacuum. It always feels quite challenging when you recruit before you're ready, but a lot of experience I've had, it's even worse to get work and then have to recruit because then it puts the pressure on finding the right people, and ultimately a
Yep.
growing business should be perpetually recruiting in
Yeah.
reality. Um,
Yeah. And previously at WSP, we just used to take people on that we knew were good, and we
yeah,
thought, we'll definitely fight. Definitely good people never stay non-busy. Good people are always busy doing projects, and generally that happens. But you just also need to have this BD push. But I think what the other thing we've done well is, we have this kind of BD culture as well through the staff. So it's not people waiting to be fed, which it can be at
yeah.
consultancies. Everyone's actually really keen, right down to graduates, to kind of win work and actually finds it quite exciting and a challenge.
Brilliant, yeah, brilliant. It's great. Yeah, as you say, it's creating that culture of I'm not just doing my job. I am looking out to opportunities to grow and bring business in at various points.
Yeah. And fully
Well,
enough, actually, when I did recruitment, that was the strategy with recruitment. I didn't like recruitment. It was quite boring, but it was quite a good learning experience. And it used to be sort of like 5 hours of the day doing delivery and 3 hours doing BD. And it was
yeah,
that habit of doing a bit of BD every day.
yes,
So I've kind of passed that on, and people are saying, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, you just
brilliant.
contact a couple of clients every day, and it really, really helps.
Yeah, and because in BD it is that consistent connection that
Yeah.
comes over time. Because often, I often say to people, it's time is the other factor on when we're marketing. It's like the marketing message can be great. It's this is the best thing we can ever do. However, it's got to be at the right time when there's been a challenge with the existing supplier or some reason to want to then engage. And if we don't consistently do it, then we
They
might
forget
hit that
about you.
point. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is one of those ego reducing things, isn't it? That we are forgetful, forgotten. Interesting, you mentioned on projects because I do remember one of the things we found. You mentioned small projects was that we always used to do very detailed analysis on the quoting and estimating of a large project because it just makes sense if it's going to be 500,000 £1 million worth
Yeah.
of work, you want to get it right. But what we found was the biggest error margins were on the small projects because a day in 10 is a lot more of a problem than a day in 100.
Yeah. Yeah.
Overall.
It can be, but I think what we've done well is we do have quite repeatable offerings.
Great.
So some of the
Yeah.
small projects are fairly, standard. So we have
Yeah.
a
Brilliant.
fairly standard price and a fairly standard deliverable, and we can
Brilliant.
kind of do a lot of those. Yeah.
Brilliant. So what would you say your key learnings are about growing a business? What are the tips you could pass on about maintaining and supporting business growth?
I think don't be too risk averse because if you don't take people and if you try and do it one person at a time and you just won't have the right skills in the team to be
Yeah.
able to sell work. I mean, we were lucky because Anthony, he's the other managing director, and myself, we were busy and like doubly busy, kind of
Yep.
200% billable, whatever, right from day one, pretty much.
Right.
So we had lots of cash flow, and we built, we did everything organically, and we built up the cash, and then we brought people in. So it was massively beneficial that we could still do the projects. So and
Yeah.
I'd done that purposefully throughout my career to keep doing projects and not to get so far away from projects I wouldn't be able to do it anymore. Um,
Interesting.
so that's definitely one lesson, be able to do it yourself to start with, because otherwise you
Yeah.
just have to get investment and recruit people. But then after that, yeah, take on people so that you can actually deliver things to the client. And I was very lucky, I think, because, I'd done a lot of business development over my kind of 15 years in the industry. So I had lots and lots of relationships and, just a big thank you to the whole industry really that's given us work. And some clients gave us work very early from the first few months. Some clients, came after a couple of years and said, we know you from before, we've seen you build, we see you got a decent sized company now, we'd like to engage with you now and see what you can
Brilliant.
do for us.
Brilliant. What a great, yeah, I guess it is having those people that can be in effect sponsors from early doors is really great. But then obviously probably the more
Yeah.
risk averse clients are going, well, we'll wait till you get to a certain size
Yeah.
and then yeah, brilliant.
Actually, my biggest tip is just to be nice to people in general. So, I've line managed people in my career. I know loads of
Great.
clients, got loads of contacts. And even people that have left businesses before, lots of those people go into other businesses and give us work. It's the same with clients now, people might move from that client to another company and they'll come and they'll give us work because, we've been helpful and engaging. So just being a generally, hopefully decent person
Yeah.
over 15 years in the industry has definitely made a huge difference.
100%. It's such a simple thing, but it is like it's just being nice to people. I think it was Mary Kay, the American Mary Kay Cosmetics in the States, and people asked her about her success, and she said, "Well, when I walk into a room, I imagine everyone's got 'make me feel important' written on my forehead, on their forehead."
That's a good one.
And it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like, yeah, how do I make you feel important? Because because you are ultimately
yeah.
important, and
I
it's
think
like,
it's just taking interest in people as
yes,
a decent human being.
yes. And what's really interesting about that is, get it right, interested people are themselves interesting. People find them interesting purely because they've been asked questions. I was told
Yeah,
that,
that's true.
yeah, there was I was told it may be anecdotal, but I'm going to say it's not. But there was a study done many years ago, and I think it was one of the American universities, let's say UCLA, and they put a student on a plane to, let's say, Chicago, like a 3-4 hour flight there and back. I think they actually did it twice a day for a week or two, and they always put them in the middle seat of three, and the job of the student was just to ask questions of the people on the left and right. Where you're from, what you
Yeah,
do, and they interviewed these two people as they got off the plane. I don't ask me how they felt, but and apparently 83% of the people that came off the plane said the person in the middle was one of the most interesting people they'd ever met.
yeah. I've
And
heard that
and
before.
yeah,
There's a
and they
similar
said,
dinner party study, I think, where it's the same thing. They've not given anything away about themselves, but they've
yeah,
asked questions of the people, and they said they're the most interesting. Yeah, yeah,
it's really fascinating, and it's just like so it is a very simple thing to do to engage people. Is just ask questions.
yeah, yeah.
So I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation, and I'm just keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, or life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
Haven't worked with any. That's a really bad answer, isn't it?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It's okay. But who's had the biggest influence?
I've had people that have influenced me,
Yeah,
like specific people. So yeah. So one of my former bosses, so Paul Glendinning, who is now on the board at Northern Power Grid, one of the
right.
directors.
Yes.
So yeah, we've had a few interactions. So he took me on, gave me a job at Atkins. So that was the one after Narvek,
Yep.
when I was early career. And I mean, he was building a team, and had various discussions and so on. But then he actually left and went to another company and asked me to join, and was very encouraging. I actually went somewhere else in the end,
Brilliant.
but then a few years ago when I was moving to WSP, I was looking for something else, and I just contacted Paul, and he said, "Well, I'm looking for someone to be the power systems director, so
Yep.
you can come and do that if you like." So I
Brilliant.
said, "Brilliant, thanks." So I worked for him again with him again for 3 years until I resigned to set the business up. And when I did resign, he was really encouraging. So I was thinking,
Brilliant.
oh no, I felt really guilty. He said, no, that'd be brilliant, Anna. You should definitely do that. That's what I
Yep.
would have maybe liked to have done. And then I realised, or he told me kind of a month later that he'd already resigned himself and was going to Northern Power Grid.
Right.
um,
Brilliant.
but anyway, other than I suppose that there's just tips about managing teams that
Yeah.
he's given me. Building teams for more junior, clever people, how to encourage people. He used to tell me not to do all the work myself. He said, "You've got a team, Anna. Make sure they're doing their own
Yep.
jobs, and you do your job."
Yep.
So yeah, definitely informal mentoring.
Yeah.
Uh,
Cool. Sorry. Go on.
the other person was Graham Bathurst at TNI. So I went to TNI after Atkins, and Graham's one of the best technical people, or probably the best technical person I've ever worked with, but is
Brilliant.
also super nice person and still in touch now. And he gives us some work as well from time to time. But very nice, well-rounded person that, yeah, had a big influence on me at TNEI.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Yeah, no, I think most people have some influences, and as I say, I mean, coach is just for me, it's the formality of many things that happen, but it's just understanding that can help. So, whether
Yeah.
it's for those guys or any other sources, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings that you catch yourself using a lot about business or success in general?
I think the main thing is not to worry too much when there's issues, because if you worried whenever there's an issue, you would just be worrying the entire
Yes.
time, and everything can be solved. And one of my bosses at Atkins was there when I was head of networks at Atkins, and my boss's boss used to say it was really high pressure actually at Atkins, and you had to try and make the numbers, and so on. But he used to say nobody's died, and that's what I say to myself if I have a problem. Nobody's died,
Yep.
and the life goes on. So yeah,
Yes.
it's not a very illuminating sentence, maybe, but
No, in all honesty, I think it is because I think it is, the capacity to manage in difficult circumstances, and part of that is that release of yes, this isn't life or death.
yeah, yeah,
In most cases, and what's the worst that can happen? Because the human condition tends to awful. There was a lady you coined the phrase awfulization, and I love it because it's like we
yeah.
tend to make things worse than they, or
Human beings apparently tend to be negative.
yeah,
Your default human position is negative, so you have to work to be positive. But
absolutely,
being positive makes a massive difference to business, to your life. If you think positively, generally it's a
absolutely.
self-fulfilling cycle and things go well. And you just have to remember it's business and it's money and it's not life or death, but it's not your family. I mean, there's like loads of more important things than running the business.
Brilliant. I couldn't agree more. And it's interesting that positive mental attitude. I think definitely one of my top two quotes is Henry Ford, which is whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
and that's it. So we start with, and for me, it just allows us to ask the question, how can we, rather than can we, and that opens up so many more avenues than can we or can't we?
Yeah,
Because
that's it. You decide what your goal is, and then how do you get to that goal? And then you just break it down into bits and
yeah,
do it. I always think if you write a to-do list every day and you get through it, you're going to be successful because,
yep.
unless you're writing the wrong things down, but if you're
Yes,
thinking about what you really need to be doing and you actually get it done, then,
yeah.
things will go well.
Absolutely. And similarly, do you have any favorite books or podcasts on business or success in general that you can share with us?
I rarely read about business. I read a lot more fiction,
Great.
and I read interesting fiction and a lot of things about that tell you about people. And I think one of the things you get out of fiction is the ability to relate to people and understand people. And
Yes.
I think that that is the most important thing in business. And I think reading fiction is vastly overlooked. And I have read a couple of management books and I've thought, I kind of know this already. And I think that the stuff that you get out of fiction, which is around people and why people do some of the crazy things that they do, because people are crazy every day, is much more beneficial.
I would I would agree with you. My media would be films, but I learn a lot from fictional films. Yeah, I think there's
Yeah.
so many great things in books and films that we can draw into everyday life. So I completely agree. I think the key thing is, as you mentioned earlier, is the inquisitive nature, isn't it? I'm open to ideas and knowledge and things that can come from
Yeah.
the source.
I
Um,
think management, though, it's a big people job. It's all very well strategizing and stuff, but if you can't relate to the people,
oh
at
yeah,
the end of the day, you've got a team of 62 people. Like, you need everybody to be working at, maximum potential, because the difference between 62 people working full on maximum potential to 62 people kind of not really caring is massive.
yep,
And you can't make that up with yourself doing things or strategizing or whatever it is. You
no,
need your team to be,
absolutely.
optimized.
I always tell the story of the impact of strong communication leadership. So my first job was with a company at the time. It was called Frantic Computer Systems. I think they're part of Thales now, or Thales. And
Oh yes, I know about them. Yeah.
we had The chairman at the time was a guy called, get it right. I looked him up recently because I misnamed him, but Sir Derek Allen Jones. So he was the classic sort of I don't know, 50, if you go about 40, 50 years, the classic chairman of the board with a big mane of curly grey hair and a pinstripe suit. And he came in. There was about 500 of us in this auditorium, and he walked in. And he just gave half an hour of the the we're all getting this together, and you could see all 500 people's, if we'd all increased our productivity by 20% just by this talk. And
Yep.
and it showed me the power of leadership and the value of leadership of one person had increased this whole team. But as he walked off, and I always talk to people about this value. As he walked off, I happened to be sitting at the end of one of the aisles, and I swear he looked at me and talked to me, but he probably didn't. But he was looking in my direction, and he said, "I'm off for a game of golf now." And I realized, he did half an hour's work and probably at more value than many of us will ever do in days, weeks, and months. And it's just
Yeah.
fascinating, that power of communication and motivation that leadership, great leadership brings.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm keen to know what you've learned about yourself throughout your journey so far.
About myself. I'm very resilient nowadays. I think almost anything can go wrong and I stay calm.
Brilliant,
Um,
brilliant.
so and really you wouldn't be able to exist otherwise. So I think it's been great for resilience. I mean, yeah. Also, I've become super quick and efficient because I also have two children. So I've got a 11-year-old and a 7, nearly 8-year-old. Oh my goodness, there's so much to
Goodness,
do with them. I mean, they've got loads of hobbies, there's school, there's homework, there's pickups and drop-offs and, all the rest of it, trying to cook tea and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I just learned that you can kind of condense things in and make your time really valuable. Make sure that what you're doing when you do it is valuable and you're not
yeah,
wasting time. So I've thought loads about, how I can do more things more rapidly and quickly and
brilliant.
the best ways to work, have short breaks and all this kind of thing. AI now is great actually as well. I
Yes,
mean, just recently, I've done loads with AI, I've written job descriptions and
yep,
I've written bids and, so always think of how you can be more productive. I mean, I did very, very long hours in London. And what I
yep.
learned from that is I do not want to do these long hours jobs. I have no interest in working till like 9 o'clock every night. I've got
Yep.
loads of hobbies and stuff I want to do. And
Love it.
so what we've brought to the business is generally speaking, people don't do long hours. People are encouraged to be really efficient while you're here, really keen, get other people to do something with stuff where possible, but also everything's automated. So we have scripts for everything. People love writing scripts because they're really clever here. So they write loads of scripts and then
Brilliant,
we do everything really quickly. And it means people can go home at a normal time and do other things that they like
brilliant.
doing. Because, I was a management consultant. I thought the people in management consulting were great, but I thought the hours were absolutely shocking. And I never wanted that to be my business. So we're like a kind of shorter hours management consultancy for engineering.
Love it, absolutely love it. I mean, my experience of growing my own business was not and not understanding some of the key disciplines of effective delegation and leverage was, I was doing 100-hour weeks for 3 years, and it pretty much broke me. So I'm
Yeah,
totally behind that. And a big part of what I do now is helping people. You're already there, but helping people take up the philosophy that we don't have to put our lives on hold for 10 years and hope.
yeah,
Actually, if what we do now, we're happy. If we work, do. I think it's Brian Tracy said, the most successful organizations are the ones where most people spend most of their time doing the three things they really love and they're really good at.
yeah, yeah.
And if they're happier, therefore they're more productive and therefore they're more profitable. So it's a real virtual
You're definitely
discipline.
more productive if you're happier. Yeah, yeah. You're much better at
Absolutely.
work. And you can think about work when you're doing other things, and that's fine because it's interesting and then you can
Yes.
apply it. But you don't have to be sitting at a desk for 10 hours a day. It's not good for anybody. It's not good
Brilliant.
for your health.
Couldn't agree more. 100%. Now, Anna, in Action Coach, we've got a definition of what we call a true business, which is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without its owners. I'm keen to know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think our business could work without me. I mean, I think the one thing I still do have is a lot of people know me, so I've got a
Yes.
reputation.
Yep.
Um, But we encourage people all the time to grow their own reputation, and a lot of time, and our clients will go directly to the staff in the business. So I think it's helpful to have me, and I do solve problems and so on. But yeah, I'm sure that I could take a month off and nothing would go wrong. And I do find increasingly I can be on holiday now. I might get emails, I might forward emails on, just because I might have only come to me. But that's about it. It's not like I'm doing
Brilliant.
hours of work when I'm off.
Great.
Yeah.
No, absolutely great. And I think it is that started with the end in mind of, and it feels like that's what you've done is say, look, that, yeah, it's not going to be solely dependent on me. It is.
Yeah, and I think the business as it is could operate no problem without me. I think where, it's can be beneficial is growth and going after new
Yeah,
areas and so on, and that kind of strategic side of it. But again, I'm sure somebody else could do it.
brilliant. Brilliant. Well, yeah, I'm not totally sure, but yeah, I do get your point. Um, so I mean, looking forward, what does the future look like for you guys, and what do you think the main challenges will be, if any?
So we want to keep growing,
Yeah,
and we probably, I don't know, we have no well, we do have a growth plan over the next 5 years, and it's got pretty strong growth.
brilliant,
But the challenges are, where do we get that growth from? Obviously, so you can't just keep doing more and more power system studies, or I'm sure we'll get more market. But we are developing new services, so detailed design, markets, energy yield, various other things for the UK. But then we also want to go after more countries. So,
brilliant,
potentially Ireland, potentially something in the US, potentially something in Europe. So yeah, basically more services and more locations.
brilliant. Funnily enough, we were with our founder yesterday with some of our clients, and we were talking about how do you create a £1 billion business plan. And,
Yep.
and and the main reasoning being is not that you necessarily need to get to 1 billion, but if you create a plan to get 1 billion, it's very different than a business plan that gets you to 10 million or 50 million. There's
Yeah, yeah. It's like the reaching the stars and you get halfway
yes,
there kind of thing. Yeah.
absolutely, very much that is you. We would have to think very differently between, as I say, 10 million and 1 billion, because it is just you can't do it just by repeating 10 million, or if you did, it would take a very long time.
Yeah.
So brilliant. And Anna, I'm really keen to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now. What would you be your key advice?
Well, you obviously need to have some kind of plan and,
Yep.
something to actually sell. But assuming you've got a good idea, I mean, it's pretty low risk. At least how we set it was pretty low risk. We didn't take any finance out apart from just to cover salaries for the first couple of months. And what I said to myself was, well, if it all goes horribly wrong, I'll just go back and get another job. So, I
Brilliant.
mean, it's not really particularly high risk. So I think more people should have a go. And I think culturally, we're kind of really bad at it in this country, encouraging entrepreneurship. I mean, my dad nearly had a nervous breakdown when I said I was going to set a business up. He thought it was a completely crazy idea. Because people just expect you to be employed by someone. But at the end of the day, you're being employed by someone that's set up a business themselves. So, anyone can do it.
100%. It's a really interesting thing. It is for me. It is an identity. It can be learned, but it's an identity pattern rather than a logical pattern. I've met and worked with some really, really successful people that still want to be employed, because
Yep.
there's just something ultimately that feels like it's not down to me,
It's
even though
cultural
it
and
is.
upbringing, I think. It's
I think
just,
there's
we're
two.
not
Yeah.
in a culture where it's really, and at school, no one really speaks about setting a business up. It's all about a profession
Yes.
and.
Yeah, and yes, I'd probably go off on one of this. So I don't know if you're familiar with Simon Squibb. He's an interesting guy. He's the guy that walks up to people in the street and say, "What's your dream?" And if I believe in it well enough, I'll invest in it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's very much into now also talking about his belief that the education system is broken in many ways, because it's purely designed to teach people to become employees.
It is. It really
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
and it also is. We tend to. I mean, you've got kids of that sort of age. We tend to. Our kids have to conform to a process rather than the process conforming to our kids, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But it's
Yeah.
really interesting. Well, that would be another topic for another day.
I
But
could speak about that all day, especially in terms of my eldest, but yeah.
oh right, well, it's worth if you're interested, have a search up Simon Squibb, because he's starting a movement to change education at a fundamental level. So if that's of
Interesting.
interest to you, really
Yeah.
interesting guy about what he did. He was at our we have a 2 day business conference every year. We have sort of 1,500, 2,000 people at it, and he spoke. And although he was primarily we'd asked him to speak about entrepreneurship. He was very much the phrases went off on one, and it was like
Really interesting.
it was
See,
great.
my youngest is very much a conformist, and she's brilliant at school, and she's good at
Yes,
everything, and she wins everything. Whereas
yep,
my eldest is brilliant, but she's not a conformist, and
yep,
she's definitely gonna be. Well, she wants to be a playwright at the moment, so she's writing a play and acting
brilliant.
it out with her friends and all this kind of thing. She's actually brilliant at writing. She's had little publications and so on, but
Oh, brilliant.
school doesn't really suit her when it comes down to it. She
No,
can deal with it, and she's at a good school, so it's the much better would be she likes the extracurricular, but it's not quite for her, and you can
yeah,
just see it
yeah, and I think as parents is helping and supporting that opportunity. You know, there are so many different options
to
to
do
be
other things. It's
successful.
not just about exams and school. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, 100%. And if you started your business again, Anna, is there anything significant you do differently? Do you think?
I would do it earlier,
Brilliant. Yes.
probably.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's
I mean, it's been good timing, but I do think I could have done something earlier
brilliant.
as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Final question. What's the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you if you could go back in time and do that? Might be the same advice you just said, but
I think don't worry so much about the end game. So I think the problem when you're younger is you're always thinking about what the future's going to be. What am I going to do? What should I do next? And I was always, and it was always worrying, like going through like exams and everything and quite stressful. And I don't worry at all anymore about what I'm going to be
brilliant.
doing in 3 or 4 years' time. And I wish, I guess, I'd have told my 18-year-old self not to worry so much and just do stuff and enjoy it, and it would all come together.
Brilliant. I would 100% agree with that. And I'm going to do my best to give you a quote from a film. So which goes with that, and it's the most highly intellectual. It's called Kung Fu Panda, which you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
And it said, now let's get this right. The past is history, the future is a mystery, and there's something about, but the now is the gift. That's why they call it the present.
Yeah, and living in
Something
the
like that.
present is the thing. And to be honest, having children has really taught me to live in the present because I can
Yes,
potter around with them all day and not worry about anything
yeah,
else. And I
lovely,
think children has definitely given me that. Yeah,
wonderful. What a great, yeah. I couldn't agree more. And I think it is unfortunate that so many business people can miss out of that sort of period with the children because of just the whole sort of overarching concern and worry about business in general, and that's a real
yeah.
shame. And it's been fascinating to talk to you. I could talk to you all day about so many different things, but for now, I really appreciate your time. And for anyone that would like to get in touch with you or Blake Clough Consulting, what would be the best way of doing that?
Info@blakeclough.com.
Brilliant. Well, look, it'd be great to swing by another 6 to 12 months. I'm sure there will be amazing developments will have happened, but for now, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much. Great to talk to you too.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Brilliant.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Okay,
Was that okay for you?
we're done recording now. That's recording off.
Yes, we can stop
Yes.
recording. Let's do that. Let's turn that
Yeah, that
off.
was great.
I'll put it
Thanks.
onto pause because I'm not sure what happens if I turn it off. So just